Well, hey there, campers, and welcome back to a brand new episode of Camp Cryptid. I'm your host, Erica Fett, and today I thought it would be kind of fun to start the new season off with one of my favorite types of episodes, CampFire Tales. And if you aren't familiar with my past CampFire Tales episodes, these are my favorites to do because one, I get to read so many cool stories from all of you listeners, and also we get to share a story time together. Like what wouldn't someone love about that? And not only do these stories range from like cryptid encounters, UFO encounters, creepy paranormal stuff, but I just love it because we can all bond over all of this weirdness on Earth. So it's my favorite. Now, I've always believed that ghosts could exist, and I've been into magic stuff and this magical world since I was a kid. I always felt like the world had so many mysteries that kept me fascinated, even up until this day. So when I get to read about your encounters with cryptids or paranormal experiences or just anything that's not ordinary, I just love it. I just love it. So today, sit back and get ready for some campfire tales from you cool cat listeners. Now my first story is going to be from Ryan. And Ryan says, "Just wanted to start by saying I love the podcast. So I live in an old Victorian house. On many occasions there have been creepy things, but one specific one stands out. We live on the third floor and the bathroom is on the second. She went down to take a shower and I heard the door close. A minute or so later, I heard the door open, someone walk all the way up the stairs. Mind you, they are older, so they creak, and start rustling in the bedroom. I thought it was my wife, so I said, 'Did you forget something?' Did you forget something? No answer. I go into the bedroom, nothing. I then walk downstairs to my wife still in the shower. Needless to say, my heart was racing. I told my wife about it when she came upstairs, and she was high-key freaked. That was the story to keep up. So that was the story. Keep up the amazing work. Love listening. P.S. I met you at NYC. P.S. I met you at NYCC 2024 and just want to say I was awkward and nervous. Thank you for being kind and non-judgmental." Okay, first off, don't ever worry about being nervous when you guys meet me at any type of convention. I swear I am a big weirdo, like completely like don't ever worry about meeting me. I've been singing that Teenage Dirtbag song to my husband and he's probably so like overhearing me sing it, but seriously. I just want to make friends and it makes me so happy to get to bond with you all and get to meet you not only at like conventions and expos, but it just makes my day to meet people who we're all into the same things and I love it. Now, Ryan, that is super creepy. And you know what? I wonder, have you ever like looked into the history of your house? Because, with it being an older Victorian house, I wonder what history is attached to it or, what's the history of the area and stuff like that. And also, has your wife ever experienced anything weird? Like, have you guys had any other occurrences? Or are you just kind of hearing maybe, some kind of entity walking around? Either way, super creepy. Someone's just hanging out, going through your bedroom. No big deal. So, yeah. But yeah, get back to me if you can on that history of the house or if you guys have any other weird, creepy things going on or if she's experienced anything because can't wait. And hopefully, Ryan, I get to meet you and your wife at NYCC 2025. I haven't officially announced it and it hasn't been but I will be at NYCC this year in the fall. So super excited to be a guest again. Last year it was great because I got to be the judge of the official New York Comic Con talent show. And that was really fun and such a great time. So I absolutely loved it and can't wait to go back again this year because I need to eat me some pizza and say hi to everybody. It's always a great time to get to say hi to everybody. So yes. Now, my next story is going to be from Zach. And Zach says, "A while ago, I went to a haunted hotel in South Dakota, the Hotel Alex Johnson. It's a well-known haunted hotel. My girlfriend at the time and I got a room on the most haunted floor. When we went to sleep the first night, I heard a lady's voice say, 'Come here.' I asked my girlfriend if she said anything, and she said no. I laid back down and heard it again, 'Come here.' Did not move out of that bed until the next morning. The last night we were there, my girlfriend violently shakes me awake and tells me that she felt something holding her down and slowly dragging her off the bed. Neither of us went back to sleep until the sun was starting to come up. She was so freaked out by it, she didn't want to be left alone even when we got home after that little trip." The Hotel Alex Johnson. See, this is exactly why I love these episodes, because you guys put so much stuff on my radar. So much stuff. I've never heard of this hotel. And South Dakota seems pretty cool. And the fact that there's this haunted hotel there makes me so excited, because now I feel like I have to do a deep dive on, haunted hotels and look into this hotel. So if any other listeners are listening and you guys have stayed at the Hotel Alex Johnson, please write in, let us know. Like, I want to know all these creepy stories. And also I want to find out the history of this place, because now I'm intrigued. And like I said, I love it because you guys put so much on my radar. It's my favorite. But I have not heard of this hotel. Very cool. Very, very cool. And also very terrifying that she and both of you two felt something going on, whether it was whispers, actual physical touch, which is really, really crazy and really terrifying. Now I'm like wanting to do a deep dive of the history of this place. So stay tuned for a future episode. Yeah, I wonder, Zach, have you guys ever felt anything like weird at different places? Or was it just like, this was like the thing that said, oh, this was the moment where you were like, oh, nope, this is 110% haunted. No question about it. Yeah, that is so creepy. And like, here's the things, I've had experiences, and I haven't had an experience where I felt anything necessarily like touch me. But I've had experiences where I have talked about it on previous episodes, and I've talked about it on previous episodes where I've heard something talk to me. And that was the one time where I'd always known that there was something that we couldn't see, right? There's always something out there that I wasn't quite sure what it was, ghosts or, another parallel universe where, we're all just moving around on this plane, right? But that was the moment when something talked to me that I was like, okay. And I felt like it was negative. And I felt like it was a negative presence. So Zach, when you and your wife were at this Hotel Alex Johnson, did you two feel like it was like a negative presence, or was it just like, I don't know. I want to know now. So Zach, please get back to me. Let me know what you guys think. And now I have to do a little bit of research on this hotel. And maybe honestly, I would love, love, love to do an entire episode on haunted hotels, because there are so many, not only just in the United States and North America, but all across the world. There are stories. And, you have to think, like, people are coming in and out, and all these people have histories and their own emotions. And so there's a lot going into, the history of these places. So that's what I'm into. I really want to know if you were feeling like it was super, super negative. And now, like I said, I'm doing research on it. So yes. Now, this next story is going to be from Mitch. And Mitch says, I've been waiting to tell someone this for years. When I was growing up, my grandparents had a 2-story ranch house. They lived there with one of my aunts and 2 cousins. Over the course of years, from my early teens to adulthood, all 5 members of this house at different points in my life have told me about a nightmare they had in which someone was slowly making their way through the house, killing everyone in it. They each described the killer the same way, and their description of the dream lined up as a sequence of events over the course of one night. One would describe the room they were in and the screams they heard from the other rooms nearby, and the family member they heard would describe their dream as taking place in that room. Only 2 of the 5 members of the household are still with us, and the order in which they've passed so far has been eerily similar. That is crazy. And honestly, and Mitch, I love this story because I've actually been on this like big kick on lucid dreaming. And, the idea that if someone has a dream and they're in it, if you're having a dream, let's say you're having a dream and your best friend shows up in the dream, is your best friend having that same dream, or somehow are you connecting in this world of like consciousness? And it's very crazy that all of the members of your family had this dream. It could be something that, through, talking about it, it stuck with them. But also very strange that the order in which they've passed now is very similar to what happened in the dream. I do wonder too if this house has a history, like Amityville, right? We all, when we think about, creepy houses where people, have, had terrible killing sprees, Amityville is one that comes to mind. And it's wondering if there's a history behind the house, and also wondering if, there's something more going on with this house that's affecting your family. But I guess, Mitch, my question is, have you ever felt like negative presences in the house, or have you ever felt like negative energies from the house? Or is this just something that's kind of like a normal everyday house? You're just having these crazy, awful nightmares. Because I can understand how completely unsettling that must be, especially for your family to be sharing this terrible nightmare. I mean, that's awful. But yeah, that is so crazy. And like I said, I've really been on like this kick of reading into like dreaming, and, this whole idea that like, oh, if you have a dream with someone in it, are they also having the same connection with you in that dream? So, yeah, maybe here's the thing. Maybe I just need to have like an expert come on and we just dive into that topic, because I think that topic would be so fun and interesting to talk about, I don't know. I'm all about the possibilities, right? But yeah, so Mitch, if you are listening to this, I'd love to know a little bit more about if you have had like any experiences in the house, or if it's like feeling like a negative energy or presences, and just let me know, because gosh, I'm so sorry. Now, this next story is going to be from Jason, and Jason says, a few years ago, my mom and I were driving down the road heading home. It had been after we were finishing up working as actors at a haunted attraction that was about half an hour away from where we lived. Since it was late, probably around 11:30 or so, there weren't any other cars around. As we got closer to the house, we noticed something hovering in the sky over the road. We pulled over to an empty parking lot to get a better view. It was a sphere, just hanging there in the air. It was strange looking because the whole thing gave off a slight glow, probably a light pink to peach kind of color. I can't really estimate how big or how high up the object was. As it was above the tree line, but it didn't move for a minute or two. It just hovered silently as we watched. Next thing we know, it was just gone. Just poof, like it vanished in between blinks. We got back to the car and headed home. The really strange thing I've never told anyone is that the really strange thing that I've never told anyone is that the more I thought about what we saw, the more I kind of remember seeing the same kind of object above me when I was a little child. I didn't really make the connection at first because it was always during the daytime and never at night. But it was always the same colored, slightly glowing orb. Everyone else always seemed too busy to notice it, but I guess it was different since it was at night and not in any sort of busy setting. I honestly don't know what to make of it all. It was just very weird. Well, Jason, yeah, that's really crazy. And the more and more time that passes, we have basically been told about different types of flying craft in the sky, right? We know about, when it comes to the idea of UFOs or any type of extraterrestrial craft, we know there are different types of crafts, right? We've heard about the jellyfish one. There's a cigar shaped. I think maybe on the Camp Cryptid Reddit, I posted like a UFO description chart where it shows different shapes of them over the years. With it being an orb, that is so crazy, because what could it have been? I honestly, I love also the stories coming out about underground bases under the sea, where supposedly a lot of people have seen aircrafts that are supposedly alien aircrafts coming out of the ocean and into the ocean. And there's like this theory that there is some kind of factory under the ocean that is creating these aircraft. And think about it. What a great place to have like an underground layer, especially if you can withstand being under the ocean and have the technology to do that. Like, how cool to have like an underground layer. Like, let's be real. The aliens are doing it right. For real. I guess to me, Jason, do you live around any type of Air Force bases, or to your knowledge? Because also, side note, the more and more I research about these bases, they're like hidden in plain sight. So I think that that's actually like very cool. So good job, government. Really cool. But so I live kind of like I wouldn't say close to Wright-Patterson Air Force Base, right? But Wright-Patterson Air Force Base, if you're into like looking into like Roswell and alien activity, that's one I would definitely look into because according to a lot of people, that's where they took the wreckage from Roswell, right? And so there's a lot of people around Ohio who have seen a lot of aircrafts. And it's like, who's to say what the government's working on, right? What technology they actually have that hasn't been released or that they're testing or, just that they're tinkering around with. So I guess that's my first question is, do you live close to any type of Air Force bases? That is, to me, one of those things that I always kind of like wonder when it comes to alien or spacecraft sightings. No, but with that being said, also, Jason, do you live near the water? Because if not, there may be an aircraft building facility, just right down the coast. So, but yeah, that is really crazy. And I honestly, to my knowledge, that I can remember, I've never had an encounter where I saw anything in the sky like that. And I'm excited at the thought of it, because, in the movie Independence Day, the people who are on the roof, that are like, welcome home, bring back Elvis, that would be me. I am 110% a person who like grew up on Mass Effect. And I love the idea of like living in a society with like different types of, creatures and intelligent life forms. Like, I don't care if we live with lizard people, that's cool to me. Have you seen Thane? Like, let's be real. So, for me, I think that it is really interesting for people to see those things. And I'm actually kind of a little bit jealous that you've seen those things. But yeah, Jason, just let me know if you listen to this and if you live around anything that could explain this, or, maybe it's just unexplained, which a lot of these sightings are, because we just don't know. At the end of the day, we just don't know what technology is out there. We don't know what technology is shielded from, the public. We also don't know really what could or couldn't exist. So very cool story. I love that all of these stories that were kind of submitted were on the range of everything from like haunted hotels, haunted Victorian houses, UFOs. This is why I love this. I love it. Now, one that I wanted to add in, because I don't know if I've talked about this experience, but I just thought it was a weird, creepy experience. And for those of you listening, I did grow up in Alabama, so if you hear a little bit of a southern twang, that's probably why. But we moved back to Ohio when I was in high school. And I was born in Ohio, but we just, with my dad being in the military, we had to move. Now, I grew up in a very small town in the middle of nowhere. Like, I think it's still considered a village in Ohio. Like, I feel like it's got like a population of like 1,000 people. I don't really know, but I graduated with like 54 other people, if that gives you an idea of how small my town is. It's like a 2 stoplight town, very in the middle of nowhere, very plain, not really a lot going on, right? And, there were other towns, but they were like 15 minutes away, right? And just lots of country roads. But one night in high school, a friend and I decided to just drive around the country, blasting music, chatting, and we were just teens with nothing better to do. I mean, we would do this often where a bunch of us would get together. We would drive around the country, find like old abandoned houses and like go in and like urban explore, right? That was what we did. I didn't even really drink in high school. We just went around and drove around listening to music and just chilling out and just looking for creepy places to go into. Well, this one night after we were driving around for what felt like 45 minutes or so down old dirt roads that may not have even been roads, we came across signs that looked like we were about to be going through a town, but there were no town signs or a town sign name or anything like that. And one thing that really stuck out to me, it was really weird because the speed limit sign and then the stop signs coming up to this town, they had bullet holes and what looked like dead animals hanging from the signs, like straight up. It was, I just remember we were going across this like tiny little bridge and I just saw that and I was like, this is really, really strange. Now, as we drove through the town, which didn't even have a stoplight, there was nothing in this town that was a big town at all. Like it maybe had 50 houses, if that. There was no gas station or anything like that that looked like a normal town. We noticed all of the house's lights were completely off. There were no porch lights on. There was nothing. And I mean, this was past midnight. It was maybe like 1 or 2 a.m. at that point. And like I said, no house had their porch light or anything on. But as we drove around this little area, we just felt very eerie about it. And then we came across on our left-hand side, there was like this white church. And as we drove down that street, we saw this white church, and it had a giant bonfire going on behind it. And this bonfire was giant, but I did not see a single person around the bonfire. And it was just the weirdest thing. It was just like one of those weird, like, do we just drive through like some kind of portal into hell? No. But it was probably one of the strangest things that I've seen. And, you know, my mind still wanders to this day. Like, if I go back to that area and I drive around, I don't even think I could tell you exactly where we were driving. We were just driving. And I mean, it's Northwest Ohio. And for those that are familiar with it, there's not a lot going on up there. And so I still wonder to this day, like, what was going on there? Like, what? I'm losing my mind. And so I just wanted to add that like little weird, like ghost town, creepy town, like vibes. I don't know. It was really weird. And I have a lot of stories about really weird things that we found while we were like going through houses and stuff like that. But, you know, that was one of those weird instances where I was like, I couldn't even tell you honestly where we even were. And like I said, this was an area where, you know, even where I was, you know, went to high school, the area, like you would drive 15 minutes and there'd be another town of, you know, 1,000 people. Okay, cool. But yeah, it was really weird. And so that's the story I wanted to add for CampFire Tales of my own, because I was sitting there thinking, I was like, I don't think I've told that story, and it's just really cool. So if you all have creepy stories about weird towns that you've driven through and it just gave you weird vibes, then please do let me know. But yeah, so thanks so much to everybody who has listened and submitted a story. If you also have a creepy or weird story, please submit it. I want to hear it and I want to read it. And it's so fun, like I said, to bond over these cool stories and to just like experience and just share all these like weird little ticks about Earth. I love it. But yeah, so go to Camp Cryptid Podcast. So you can head to campcryptidpodcast.com. There's a little contact section. That's just where you just write your little story, let me know what's going on. And it doesn't have to be a big story. You can just be like, hey, I grew up in a haunted house and it was creepy. So yeah, but other than that, I'm really, really, really happy to kind of come back and to do more episodes. Like I said, I've been working on the Van Meter visitor episode for my cryptid episode. I've been trying to kind of plan out having more guests on because I really enjoy doing interviews. And for those of you who have wondered, I have taken a little bit of a break just because I had a very significant loss in my life. And so trying to kind of get back on track and heal and kind of do this podcast that makes me happy. It really does. Just kind of figure out where to go forward. So with that being said, I don't think that I'm going to be doing weekly episodes. I'm going to try my best to do bi-weekly. But I want to, since I'm going to be doing bi-weekly episodes, I'd like to supplement that with doing cool like product hauls and my cool book hauls that I get from going thrifting for books and stuff like that on my Patreon for Camp Cryptid. So if you are not a member of the Patreon, please, it's free to go join. And I do have a sticker tier, and then I have just a regular support tier. It's nothing too crazy, but if y'all are liking what you're hearing, please go check it out. Like I said, it's free to join. It's just patreon.com/campcryptid, and just go hang out. You know, let's hang out in our little community. It's fun. And yeah, other than that, conventions that are coming up that I'm doing, I am going to be working on CryptidCon in November, which is really, really exciting. I'm going to be hosting their cosplay contest, and I love CryptidCon. It has amazing vendors. It has amazing speakers, and it's a good time. And honestly, the the little restaurant in the hotel is bopping, and definitely recommend. Great food. But yeah, it's a great job for CryptidCon. I love that convention. And then, like I said, I'll be doing New York Comic Con in October. So I've just got to kind of get all my cosplays together for that. So if you're in New York around October, please come say hi to me. I'll be in the River Pavilion again, same place as the last 2 years in the Cosplay Central with my little podcast booth. And come say hi. I'll have stickers, I'll have fun stuff, and it'll be a good time. So. But yeah, other than that, if y'all have any questions or have any recommendations for movies or anything fun, please drop a line on the comments on any of the posts and let me know what you're thinking. And I just want to thank everybody so much for being so patient and kind and supportive during this break that I've taken. It has been a lot on me as a person to pick up, and my goal in life is, one day as humans, the only scary things, that we have to worry about as humans, because we're all going to be taking care of each other, right? Is, these horror stories and these creepy experiences and these horror movies that we all love to bond over. And that's a goal. So, yeah. So I want to thank everybody so much again for hanging out for another episode. It is an absolute pleasure to get to talk to y'all. And also, I'm gonna do it. Also keep an eye out. Because not only am I going to be coming out in A Gettysburg Haunting, the movie that we filmed in 2023, which I'm so excited about. Gabe Braxton was the writer-director, and I'm so excited for more things that he has coming out. But I'm also going to be in the Fairfield County 4, which is a new found footage werewolf movie. And it's going to be starring Joe Bob Briggs, and I'm so excited. So yeah, I will keep y'all posted on more information about both of those movies. And in the meantime, and thanks again so much for hanging out for another episode. More to come. So, hey, go eat some good food, go have some fun and enjoy the sunshine. And until next time, take care.